I have been, what I have been observing and the way we support entrepreneurs now at the Blue Factory is really much more letting them accept uncertainty and realize this is more about discovery, and push them to be then very reactive and present in their activity, so that they can be at the right place at the right time, and they never can escape from the present where the fish can arrive. We can go to the other slides. Regarding space, here it's more new for me. So there are two things I wanted to share. The first thing is that so ESCP Business School is based in Paris, London, Madrid, Berlin, Torino, and Warsaw now. So we are really European, and the main activities of the Blue Factory until now has been developed in Paris mainly, and Berlin also has started. And it's true that with especially the COVID, that then led people to be much more kind of at ease on the web. For us, it's changed everything, because from 1 year to another, we were able to develop a program, I was mentioning the start, that is now open to all of our students and alumni, wherever they are in the world, and especially in the campuses. And so this allows us to connect entrepreneurs from different cultures, but also from different generations. Our participants are between 18 years old and 50 years old. We are able really to create this diversity of founders connected together, and to play on matching according to sectors, to interest, to talents. And so that's mostly something that is in progress, because we've been doing that for the last 2 to 3 years. But I can really see an opportunity to break borders, and to one of the problems we had with entrepreneurs was the fact that they were a bit trapped in their own view of the world. And so that's something I think will be very enriching to the type of creation entrepreneurs will develop in the coming years. I'm going a bit faster because I see the clock is running. And the other thing is the fact that now we have co-created an association called La Boussole that gathers 80 incubators in France, that was started in 2019. And so there is really a change, at least in the way we work as incubators, in the field of competition, collaboration. Now you can consider that with this association, La Boussole, we started with 10 organizations. Now 80 incubators, directors are all connected together. We are networking and co-creating a training for our own teams that the first session will be next week. And so there's really, I mean, there's no border in our organization. In the end, I don't really know if my colleagues are mostly the directors of the other incubators or the ones that are inside my organization, as we are really working at the industry for the support of entrepreneurs and trying to be highly complementary. And I guess there is this in other industries, but for me, it's really another way of working that it's much more complementary and possible because also of the maturity of the market that was only able from 2019, because then the startup support ecosystem was already almost 10 years old. And so the competition was not really a topic. And finally, the last slides, and then I will leave the floor. I just wanted to also emphasize the importance, especially again in supporting entrepreneurs, to let them kind of appreciate the experience of creation. I can see a lot of stress, a lot of burnout for the entrepreneurs, but not only. As I am working in a school, I see a lot of students that are highly stressed, always by the fact that there would be a moment later on in their life where they will have achieved something. And this permanent stress of not being enough forbid people for living the experience of what they are doing right now. And that's also connected to the uncertainty of not knowing in reality what will happen in 5 minutes, but that's something that is really stressful. So we really kind of try to share with the entrepreneurs, let them realize that what counts is what they live right now. And the little sentence, life doesn't wait, that we get back from work to start, is a title of a subtitle of a conference we organized in October, called Working Differently. And I will just put the YouTube replay on the chat if you are interested. We had, by the way, Emmanuel Leon, who is in the room, who participated to that, really trying to help our entrepreneurs understand their activity in another way, to be more relaxed and able to create, because we believe that by being more peaceful that we can really innovate. Thank you very much, and looking forward to listening to the other panelists and discuss with the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maeva. Thank you. Maybe we can move to you, Kévin.
Yeah, with much pleasure. So hi, everyone. Thanks a lot, François-Xavier, for your invitation. I have to say that I need to give you props, by the way, because I think you are one of the most inspirational thought leaders on this topic of future of work. And I love what you said about it. So thanks for that. And I'm delighted to be there with you. So as you said, I have the so cool, I just admit that like every day, so cool title of Director of Future of Work and HR Strategy at Ubisoft. So for those who don't know what is Ubisoft, Ubisoft is a video game company that is about 22,000 employees in the world, so it's big. When it comes to the games that we produce, we have the well-known Assassin's Creed franchise, Just Dance, and for those who are a bit older, I'm sure you all know about Rayman. So Ubisoft, it is that. And as a video game company, it is a creative company that is part of the tech industry. And I'm sure you all know about how hard it is at the moment to compete in the tech industry. So this is why this job of Director of Future of Work has been created just after the COVID. Basically, it was before the COVID, it was already very hard to fulfill key talents in this industry. But just imagine after COVID, in a moment where developers or people who are used to work with distance said, oh, but that works perfectly well when we are all distributed teams. I don't want at all to come back in the office. So that was the key question I've been asked in this title of Director of Future of Work. And basically, then it extended to a whole reflection and thinking about the place of work, the nature of work, and the condition of work to make sure that we remain attractive as an employer. And just so you know about my background, before that, I've been working for about almost 10 years for Accenture as a management consultant, pretty classical, management consultant. But I was specialized on HR transformation and let's say management and cultural transformation. And basically, I've been called, the anti-Men in Black, because Accenture consultants were called Men in Black because they are all the same, doing all the same stuff when it comes to process reengineering, etc. And I've been pretty famous at Accenture to do things that actually Men in Blacks didn't want to do. So they sold some process mission, and if the client was not happy, they were calling Kévin just to try to do something different. And that's where I designed, and I took that let's say taste of trying to do things a bit differently, and always with a huge focus on HR innovation. And after that, I've been working for Accor, which is a big hospitality company, by being their cultural transformation lead in the context of their reorganization during the COVID period. After that, Ubisoft came to me because they were chasing for a future for director. And look at my background, I'm a total geek, so I couldn't say no to this opportunity. And I've been working for them for 1.5 years now, and I'm also consulted by different think tanks or conference or etc. to bring my let's say view, because that job is making me on a privileged place, let's say, to observe the transformation of the work. So basically, what does it consist in by doing this job of director of future of work? Two things. 50% is about anticipating and understanding the main social, societal, technological, or competitive changes that are happening in the world, and reflect that to my executive committee so that they know. But it's good to know, but when we know, we need to act. And 50% of my job is then to try to identify solutions, answers to these changes, to this context, to design the most, let's say, attractive and meaningful HR, organizational or managerial policies or practices that can be an answer to this new context, so that we can enhance our employer value proposition and make sure we remain attractive and meaningful in our market. And as I said, it's super important to be so in a market where basically for one job, for one candidate, you may have 10, 15, 50, 100 offers. So having said that, I would like to share with you a summary, let's say, of the context that I'm observing thanks to that job. And I'm sure you all talk a lot about the place of remote and hybrid work because it has probably been the big trend of 2021 and 2022. And that's true. It has been a big trend. It will continue to be a big trend. But I think it is only the most visible symptom of a broader and longer-term transformation of the place people accept and are willing to give to work and the conditions of the exercise of this work. So the underlying phenomenon behind remote work is a tremendous aspiration to freedom and to a meaningful life in general that has started long before COVID. But COVID has been a great accelerator to these trends. Just look at the exponential increase of the number of self-employed workers since 2008. And Maeva is leading an incubator and things around entrepreneurship. I'm sure you can testify of that as well. You know, we have a famous person in France who is called Jacques Seguela. And Jacques Seguela said before that in the 90s or the beginning of the century, to show that you succeeded, you have to buy a Rolex. Okay, that was the proof that you succeed in life. Nowadays, to prove that you success in life, you need to have built a company by your own. That's the new testimony of the success. And look also at the significant number of applications to masters in entrepreneurship. It's now beyond the number of applications to the classical, you know, big management degrees that has been very famous. So it shows that now in life and in education in general, it's much more valuable to create something by its own than to just follow the trend and follow what the society wants you to do. Having said that, these shifts come in a context of what I call egotization of the society, pushed by the rise of, you know, social networks where people live themselves as brands. And whether we like it or not, we will need to do and to deal with this reality. I've seen plenty of HRDs, of managers, of CEOs who complain all day long about how individualist people are, etc. Well, maybe you can complain about that. First, it is not true. And second, yes, we will need to take into account the fact that people want to be treated as individuals and not just as workers. So once we said that, this is the entire employer and employee relationship that is being hurt. It's not only about having to set up, you know, the right hybrid work scheme, how many days we need to come in the office, etc., how long we should work. No, it's not about that. It is the general contract that is between the employer and the employee. And having someone decided for you, because he is or she is your employer, your work location, your work schedule, your working hours, your working condition, and even your colleagues, is a direct hit to your freedom as an individual. And this is it that we need to put in question when it comes to future of work. So all the studies and the interviews I've made are showing a major willingness from employees to work. They want to work and they want to work hard, but they want to decide for themselves when they work, how they work, for how long they work, and want to ensure that they contribute to the greater good and not contribute to a piece of meaningless work or dead work, just filling SAP or filling Excel files doesn't make any sense for them. So what is for sure is that when employers reject this reality and then want to organize for you and decide for you the nature and the condition of your work to secure themselves, then what we observe is a fundamental decrease of the level of engagement of employees. And I have plenty of surveys I've done for my clients that are showing this trend pretty clearly. So much more than hybrid work, this is this relationship that I would like all of us to put in question. So I know it's a pretty radical statement that I'm making right now, and it's pretty freaky and scary for employers and companies to deal with this context. So how to deal with that? I would like to propose a few principles or ways to operate in such a new world of work. Number one, no more God complex. You know, the God complex is basically just what I've just said. I am an employer, so I have the power to decide for you and for your entire life how you will organize your life so that you can operate your job. That's honestly, we should stop this right here, right now. No, we should, at the contrary, give the keys directly to the employees and the teams so that they can discuss and decide with their teams what is the best for them to accommodate both their individual needs and the collective needs of the team so that the work can be done pretty clearly. Number two, we are creating the unknown. We are operating in something that is completely new. So instead of having, our brains full of I'm losing my words, but things that are fixed, on the paper. I would prefer to use the test and learn methodology to say that, okay, we don't know. So instead of spending 2 years locked in a room with a project team trying to anticipate every scenario and every detail of it, let's start with a very small team, which is motivated, and let's see what happens. Let's put in place of some KPIs, and then, as the Americans said, fail fast, fix fast, and extend progressively. And I think it's much healthier to do so than to decide for a month in a room with people who know, but nobody knows. Number three, let's not be afraid by radicality. This one is very close to my heart. I'm working with HR people since 12 years now. And what I hate about HR people is that they want to please everybody. So they want to say, yes, but no, but yes. And it ends up with what? With a very cold and small consensus that is pleasing like nobody. So instead of that, we should instead trying to find, I think nowadays challenges require strong and bold ideas. And boldness requires some radicality at one point. So we would really try to not be afraid by radicality. And if it's a fail, that's fine. We can go back. Number four is about saying that we should definitely stop with the one size fits all. And this is something I'm seeing a lot in French companies, trying to put in one single contract, one single policy, the realities that are completely different for everybody. Let's make a clear statement. No one in this room is the same. Some have kids, some don't. Some are probably disabled, some are not. Some are young, some are not that young, and we all have different needs. So why the hell should we have to follow the same policies? I'm a huge advocate for personalization, and I think this is the right horizon to make sure that we also have a diverse workforce. Because if we admit the fact that we have different needs, then it will be an open door for people to be themselves at work, and their difference won't be a problem anymore. And finally, number five, HR aren't supposed to be the justice or the police. And I know they love to be that. Maybe it's about the power issue or something like that. But I'm not expecting my HR people to be the police or the justice. What I expect from them is to take risks, just like business is doing. And to do so, they need to change their posture by saying, okay, I will be your support to take this risk, We take risks in business. We need to take risks also in HR and in organization. And as a conclusion, if we do all what I've said, what kind of things we can put in place concretely to answer that context? Well, first, 3 examples, and probably I will be quick. First one is to completely get rid in the field of hybrid work on the stupid policies that I'm seeing everywhere, like how many days should we spend in the office? 3 days seems to be a good average. Well, that's the most stupid policy I've ever heard in my life, because it's pleasing no one and it doesn't make sense in terms of what we need to do at work. So instead of that, I'm trying a model that I call activity-based model, which is to say that we will list all the activities that we should do as a team, and then for each of them, see if they are more appropriate to be done collectively in the office, collectively at distance, or individually. And based on that, we give to people a framework that they decide for themselves and on which they agree much more than just following a stupid guideline that has been set by HR. Number 2, work from anywhere. I've put in place a policy that allows our people to work up for 20 working days per year in any country in Europe. I could go into the details for why 20 days and why only Europe, but basically it is an answer to the huge desire of mobility that I'm seeing more and more in the surveys that I'm doing. I'm giving our people the possibility to break borders and actually think about their work in a much different way. And number 3, I'm a huge fan of tribe management. Tribe management is about saying that basically we need to kill the matrix. People hate being a part of a process. What they like to be is empowered to work for the greater good and to be able to be empowered to answer the question that the business is questioning. And to do so, it's much better to create small teams that are fully empowered instead of creating monsters in organization with matrix everywhere that people don't understand anything about and feel disempowered. So that's it for me, and I will be more than happy to answer your question at the end.
Thank you very much, Kévin. Maybe we can move to you, Benjamin.
Thanks for having me. I don't have much experience speaking in this type of configuration, so please indulge me. So I'm going to present a community experimentation on the future of work that I've been living for the last 10 years and speak about my own life experience too. So I'm part of a third place near Lyon called La Mine, which exists since 10 years now. And it started as a citizen laboratory, basically a place where people could do research outside traditional work organizations, namely on sustainable development, energy, biology. It started as that, but it quickly matured into something entirely different in the sense that because we have a small house and we are pretty known for conviviality, different type of people from different backgrounds started collecting together, exchanging, and building different types of projects. And 10 years later, La Mine has created a way of experimenting work configurations through mutual help. Basically, what happens is that you come in touch with someone from our community, either in Lyon or elsewhere, because now it's present nationally and even internationally. And you exchange about your life experience, your projects, your difficulties, no matter if you're someone that is homeless or if you're own an industry, it doesn't matter, scientist, whatever. And all that is more than welcome. We do a lot of collaborative meals, for example, to create the conviviality that allows that. All that is documented. We have a tradition of using digital tools to document every single interaction, project, event we participate into. And experimentation. So once you've been in touch with our community, we try to understand how can you interact with other people or other organization and other projects, outside La Mine or not, it doesn't matter, and try to make it happen in a way. Because in reality, we all face with the same complexity. Like if I have a precarious economical situation, if I'm managing an industry or a corporation that needs to evolve, I have lots of information to deal with, physiological stress, cognitive load, new things happening, 10,000 different models or processes or tools to deal with what I have to deal with. And that's completely overwhelming. And to have a community that trusts you, listen to you, and help you design a lifestyle, a work organization, try to modify systems is something that I found in my own life extremely valuable. So to give you a bit of my background, I left school when I was 12 in a less than ideal situation. And the first space where I could work was internet. Namely, I was in contact with hacker communities online because I used to live in a small village and you didn't have much more than internet connection, basically, for socialization. And I was part of hacker community. Hacker understood as in the MIT sense, not necessarily computer or computer security, but basically anything that you try to experiment on, where you have a community to learn things, and you want to challenge ideas collectively this way. And this community built a compilation called Great Science Textbook, where the idea was following the principle of complexity science and holistic type of aspects to compile a repository of knowledge for people to at least understand any topic. So they compiled key resources in sociology, in mathematics, in martial arts, in history, no matter what. And it was a huge collaborative effort so that you will at least have the basics knowledge to understand whenever you speak with someone. So that compilation took several years to build, and that's how I educated myself. But at the same time, my reality regarding like scolarization and work was pretty grim because I had no diploma. I was in France, I was no social network, and so economically it was very tough at the beginning. So I had a stark contrast between my online life and my day-to-day reality. And everyone was pushing me. I'd say, oh, you need to choose a particular type of work, an industry, something that where you need to have diplomas, experience, so you can earn your life, and build what you want to build. But at the same time, I had this great science textbook complexity approach where you don't have to choose. You adapt, you seize opportunities, and you try to manage what you have. And at the beginning, it was very tough. I was in a precarious situation. And then I tried to create organizations. So I created companies and NGOs across the years. Most of them failed epically. And some of them succeeded, namely Ideal Pharma, for example, in biotechnology, where we would try to work on Parkinson, Alzheimer, and cancer on a systemic approach. So it worked pretty well. We reached like 50 researchers at some point. Then it failed again. And my wife, Connie, has a similar experience. She's from Canada, Anglo-Saxon country, and likewise, experimentation, adaptation, creating things all across the time. And now we have more stability and background because we had some success. And 10 years ago, we met Lamine, and we found the same spirit, a spirit of well-treating each other. Simply, okay, no matter what you're doing, I take a good care of you. And that allows us, like I said, to have people that are like big industry players and at the same time, precarious people that can speak because they all like to cut vegetable together, for example. Experimentation, and especially on work configuration. What happens is that I come as I am, and the community tries to help me build my life and the work, how I see it, within my organization, or if it doesn't exist, we create the organization for it. And that way, across the years, we created nearly 20 organizations that were born from Lamine. And when something doesn't exist, we try to create it. For example, between being completely independent, like auto-entrepreneur, startuper, whatever like consultancy approach of being fully independent, and a traditional full-time job, we felt like a lot of people sometimes alternate between the two and saying, okay, here I'm unstable, here I'm managed, someone else manages my life almost, and I want a bit of both. I want a bit of security and a bit of exploration too. So we created experimentation like CDI communautaire, which is a community-based full-time employment contract, where you can have like some stable income, stable organization where you work, you've got processes and so on. And at the same time, the ability to get off this job, come back to it, and do other stuff too. That's one of the many experimentation we have with, like, for example, public-private citizen partnerships to try to find ways to have better interaction. In a way, we're less centered about individual view of work and more about, okay, what is the short-term future we can build together right now? Like right now, your constraints are this, and how can we hack this in a way that makes it better for you personally, better for the organization, and that way we create profiles that are pretty polyvalent, and the same person can be active on some political issue one day and have a full-time structured employment. Sometimes can be remote, and that varies across the months and the years. And that's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Benjamin. So, as we are very, very, very late, what we propose to all of you, we will collect all questions we can, and we will give an opportunity sequentially to all the speakers to react to all questions or a specific question. Just to launch the exercise, two questions, one maybe more specific to you, Benjamin, and another one to our three speakers. In the context of Lamine, you mentioned that all your events are co-documented, collaboratively documented, I guess, with Framapad, that kind of thing. That's also something we try to do with RGCS, but the problem we have that we have know a lot of pad. Are they really used? Do they really become a live memory? And the second question for all the speakers is about this issue of futures, plural form of work. Are they in your organizations kind of a democratic process to discuss collectively this issue, to identify what is the collective desire behind this topic? And are there other questions that I could also collect? And then you would react, each of you, sequentially to all these questions. Yes, we are close to the lunchtime, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question. It's more for Kévin, but I think all of you can think about this. I just have one question, Kévin. When I was listening, I was struck by your some of the things you said, especially about the God complex, because there's also kind of a new movement that's being documented in the tech industry right now called bossism, right? John Gantz, the journalist, is writing about this. So there's a return to like a backlash against what has been seen as wokeism, or this kind of emancipation of individual worker identities. And now there's a backlash of bossism in the form of people like Musk, who is actually being cheered by other bosses in Silicon Valley for his hard hand, the strong hand approach he's taking to managing workers. So I just wonder what you think about that backlash.
Any other questions or comment that you would like to share? No, it's yes, Manuel.
Well, finally, I didn't have one. I just wanted you to go up the stairs. No, it was about the the CDI communautaire. If you could tell us a little bit more about that, because it's kind of a really, really new concept.
And any other questions or comments? If not, so please, if our speakers want to react to all the questions or one question in particular, to start. Maeva, maybe you want to start?
Maybe I'll ask the other because they had some direct questions, and I will answer at the end.
Okay, Benjamin, yes.
Okay. To start with CDI communautaire, it's an experimentation we do with ANACT, which works on work conditions in France as a national agency. The principle is you've got several people that are co-responsible of a function in a company, and that have a way to like synchronize on money, how much they paid, responsibilities, and time that is internal to their community. And right now, it's a Frankenstein of experimentation in the sense that to create workloads in France takes a long time. So we do ad hoc experimentation. So to give a concrete example, you had a burnout type of job in an organization. One of these jobs where you've got 10 different responsibilities and a huge complexity, the person left, and we put a little community in place instead, and they have a monthly salary and the flexibility regarding the way they interact, and everything is documented again, which means that beyond these 3 people, you've got a small pool of 8 to 10 people that are aware of the function. They know how it works and so on. And they get a little compensation, just be aware that it exists. And that allows us to have elasticity regarding the cognitive load, like when there's a difficulty, but people can relax themselves a little because they have a small pool that can interact on this CDI communautaire. And I might use the opportunity to answer directly the documentation.
Yes, yes.
Basically, culturally, Lamine has a tradition of documentation in various forms, digital, human, and so on. And we have like more than 16,000 pads, like collaborative resources. And what we witnessed is that it's less the content itself and the direct diffusion that makes it connect with projects than the human network of trusted people. In the sense that if I'm aware that it exists through peer-to-peer relationship, when I create a new project, a new organization, then I can pull the key people and the key resources to make it happen. And that way, sometimes we've got something very concrete, for example, how to deal with bookkeeping in a non-painful way. We realize that it has been used by organization and they never access the pad, the physical pad itself. It's through a network of various forms like physical, digital, and human that it diffuses itself.
Okay, thank you. So it's more the process than the content itself at the end
Yes,
that matters.
yes. Definitely.
Kévin, do you want
Yes,
to react also?
Sure. So 2 things. Number one, on the democracy. At Ubisoft, but this is something I'm seeing more and more in big companies. We all have an employee listening strategy, that makes us, let's even forced to ask our employees about many dimensions of work and their level of satisfaction on one thing or another, plus the thing they anticipate to be important for them in terms of working condition and aspirations, etc. So that's number one. Number two, we complete this, let's say, yearly or bi-yearly employee listening strategy by pulse surveys that are maybe monthly and more targeted to certain teams. And we also have dedicated teams that we call at Ubisoft foresight and purpose teams, whose jobs is exactly to deep dive. It's not about having the whole set of data. It's really to talk with people during long interviews. It's not 30 minutes, it's like 2 hours during which we really discuss many dimensions of work. And this is the combination of this, let's say, exhaustive data survey thing plus longer term interviews that help us understanding what are the aspirations of employees. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it's not because you understand the aspiration that you will answer all of them as a company. And there is some sort of lobbying that is necessary to align the expectation from leaders with the ones from employees. And I will quote that study from Microsoft, who shows that the gap between the two is increasing exponentially. On the question of remote work, 87% of employees say they are as productive or more productive when they work from home. Ask the same question to leaders, how confident are you that your employees are productive when they work from home? Only 12% of them are saying yes to that. So it shows that the gap between the two is super big. It requires people like me, actually, whose job is to reconcile the two and trying to make sure that we can push for radicality in HR without making our leaders freaking out, basically. To answer the question about the bossism, I really, really like the question because I think this is the right one. And what you said with that question is the illustration of the fact that in the corporate or management field is contaminated by the political field, which is set up on a scene of polarization. We also that in politics, more and more radicality is appearing on one way or another, and in the companies and the corporate level, which has been a bit agnostic, in history, without any radical or big position, we are seeing more and more companies choosing either progressivism, going very strong and hard on climate change, diversity and inclusion, well-being, etc. And in the other side, we also are seeing, you're exactly right, people like Elon Musk, but also Bob Iger from Disney. Look at that, 71 years old guy coming in a big company saying to every employee, you should work at least 4 days per week in the office because I like it. And because we are a creative company, so we cannot be creative at distance. That's the stupidest quote ever. This is coming from a guy, which is the perfect illustration of the bossism that you are quoting. But he's not alone. Look at Morgan Stanley. Look at all the big banks in the US. They are saying pretty much the same. And the interesting thing is that I was expecting that this kind of behavior would be identified as toxic, and be massively rejected by employees. It is true, but not at the extent of what I was expecting. And it is actually interesting to see that, for example, at Twitter, there is a bunch of aficionados employees who are super happy to work for a dictator. And this is not the majority of them, but the one who chose to stay at Twitter with the terms that Elon Musk decided to put in place pretty much clearly, I have to say, is symptomatic of that polarization we are seeing in the society in general, with people who want to participate to something clear. I could speak a lot about that, but I think the bossism is really the mirror, but on the other side, of what I was trying to explain in the field, of liberalization, let's say, of the work.
Thank you, Kévin. Maeva, yes.
Yeah, to react for last word and maybe also about your first question about the democratic way of diving into futures of work. Something that bumped to my mind is that at an incubator, in fact, we are a laboratory, because we are supporting founders who are between 1, 2, maybe 3, building a company. As they are building a project, they're also building the governance, they are building like everything. So we do a lot of workshops where we have the founders speaking together, and we try to help them break the conditioning they may have about how it is to organize work and to collaborate, because that's mainly what it is. We have scheme in our mind that can be unconscious, and to break those down and to create new ways of working together, there is this conditioning to first of all make conscious, and then allow people to try new ways of collaborating. And so for that, first of all, we have like kind of groups discussion that we call Blue Without Taboo, where we try really to allow people to be super sincere and free of whatsoever they have in mind, and discuss openly. We also at the Blue Factory implement ways of working that we have the testimony from alumni of the incubator that they say they have experience through our collaborative workshops or individual coaching, ways that they implement then afterwards in their governance. And we have also alumni entrepreneurs who come back and who testify about how hard it is for them to deal with management, to recruit when they want to give more freedom to their employee, what are the limits that they're experimenting. And we really try, again, that would be my last word, to create our place, Blue Factory, as a laboratory for the future of works, and allow founders to test new ways, so that maybe then when they will grow the organization, they will be more capable of creating a new ground for working.
Thank you very much, Maeva. Thanks to all of you. Thank you, Kévin. Thank you, Benjamin, for your time, for your generosity. It was a very interesting panel. Before moving to lunch, I saw that two of our next speakers for the two next panels are already there. So let me introduce them. It will be a way to connect and discuss with them during the lunch if you want. So Frédéric Petitbon, who is there from PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Emmanuel Léon from ESCP Business School and the share Reinventing Work. So if you want to talk with them, but it's been a very intense, long morning. So let's enjoy the lunch and see you soon for the panel. And let's go to the cafeteria.
Bon appétit.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Merci beaucoup.